Greetings and welcome to Union Street Hoops, a podcast dedicated to Valparaiso basketball and the Missouri Valley Conference. I am your host, Paul Oren, at NWI Oren on Twitter, and you can find Union Street Hoops on Spotify, SoundCloud, ApplePods, Google Pods, wherever there are pods that are growing, and of course on the award-winning NWI.com. We have a special episode today, a very special episode today, as I'm joined by two dear friends, guys that have also been emotionally invested in the Valparaiso nickname / mascot search. First off, we've got Jack Vita of the Jack Vita Show. Jack is a Valpo grad and somebody who put out just a fantastic podcast about a week and a half ago about all of the podcast, about all of the mascot names. And one of his guests on the show is a dear friend of mine, Andrew Stem. Andrew is a, 2-time, 3-time Valpo grad. You've given your life to that place, and now you reside in wonderful, sunny Omaha. Jack, Stem, thank you guys very much for joining today.
Thanks Great for having us, Paul.
Well, look, this happened at the worst possible time, these names coming out, because I was with my mother in sunny Las Vegas, and I kind of wanted to say to her, hey, we're going to just cut the vacation short because I need to flip on a microphone and yell into the ether about this. But I thought it would be important to take a day or two and have a measured response. And what I have found is that a day or two later, I'm not going to be any more measured than I would have been on Thursday. So hopefully you guys can calm me down a little bit. But here we are. We have the list of 8 names. Andrew, when this list came out on Thursday, what was your first reaction?
I honestly wasn't that surprised. I feel like, it sounded like in conversations that you and I had, and I know Jack had talked to assistant coach, basketball coach Luke Gore at one point. There had been kind of streams of information that had sort of trickled out. And so based on what I feel like we'd all kind of heard, the 8 that came out, not terribly surprising. I, again, am very happy they chose not to take the easy way out and just go with Knights, because, that would have been easy. They wouldn't have really had to change any of the branding. They could have just called it a day. And as we'll touch on, there are some that I think are better suited than others. It'll be interesting to see whether we all kind of line up. I know that I particularly like one a lot more than I know Jack does, and I will save that for him. He can go off on his feelings about that, but not terribly surprising. I think the list is fine for the most part. There are a couple that a direction I'd prefer they not go, but there's nothing that I looked at and went, ooh, that's going to be absolutely terrible. So not surprising. And I know the reaction on some people. I saw you put on Facebook. There were some people who were, I think, a little bit disappointed. I'm not overly disappointed. I think it's fine. I think there's some good options there, and hopefully that's one of the ones they end up choosing.
Jack, are you in the same boat? Is this a palatable list in your opinion?
Well, let me preface this by saying that, with all due respect to the committee, and I greatly value their opinions, their thoughts, and the time they're working on this thing. Some of them were so kind, because I did send the podcast episode to every member of the committee, and a number of them responded with very kind things to say, saying, hey, thank you for spending time on this topic, because my show, unlike yours, Paul, is focused more on a national level of sports. So it was kind of interesting. Some people were like, oh, you guys should do an episode on this. I'm like, no, this should be Union Street Hoops. This is PO's business. So I'm glad we're able to move the conversation over here. But the main thing for me is, so again, I appreciate everything their thoughts are, but really, I think the main thing for me, and we talked about this to great length on my show, this is an opportunity, if you're ditching the name Crusader, to build something that's extremely marketable. I think what the end goal that you try to do is, in this situation, is try to get as many people to come to university as possible. Now, is a mascot or a team name going to be the ultimate sales pitch? No. But I can tell you, I am much more familiar with Wichita State than I am Pittsburgh and Kansas. So if I got mail, because not only the team got in the tournament and played a couple games, the Shockers, it's a name that's extremely noticeable across the country. That was a team that was in the Missouri Valley. So it's possible for Valpo to create some type of name that can become a national brand. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So if I get mail from Pittsburgh and Wichita State, I'm naturally there's a greater chance if I'm in high school that I'm actually going to open up what the Wichita State thing says. And that could lead to a visit. That could lead me going somewhere. So at the end of the day, I don't think any of these names are super marketable, super names that are going to jump out at you. But they're not all horrible, I guess I should say.
So I think you raise a really interesting point that I think we should touch on from the jump. And it's long been my opinion, when they said that they were going to ditch Crusaders, there was a part of me that said, I don't care what the new nickname is, just be Valpo. And to your point, Wichita State, right? They're the Shockers. That's a good name. I like that idea. But then you mentioned Pittsburgh, and I think were they the Panthers, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that they're Pitt. I mean, my girlfriend's sister went to Pitt for dental school, and she just got a T-shirt that just says Pitt on it, P-I-T-T. And when I see that shirt, I know what it is. Just like I am wearing a shirt right now that says Valpo. Don't look at the cartoon character over here, because that'll get you in trouble. But it's interesting as to the question as to whether or not do you even need a nickname or a mascot. Gonzaga, they're the Zags. Actually, they're not the Zags. They're the Bulldogs, right? Duke is Duke. Duke doesn't, I mean, they're the Blue Devils, sure, but they're Duke. And so just be Valpo was kind of my opinion. Now, another point that I think we need to make is that there is a difference between a nickname and a mascot. And to that, I would point you to the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yes.
Andrew, to your wife's point, Megan, who actually, I want to jump on this. What did she have to say about this?
I mean, she just she was disappointed that there weren't more animal type nicknames. I think that was kind of the direction she was going in. And so she'd hope for something that would have made a good mascot. But, she mentioned Big Al. I think that's his name at Alabama, the elephant. And we talked about the Tulane Green Wave, that they sometimes have pelicans. Their baseball jerseys are reminiscent of what the Cardinals do. So they've got the two pelicans on the ends of the baseball bat. And, Stanford, a little bit different, but sort of similar in the Cardinal, and they've got their cartoonish type tree. So there are some opportunities where, as you've said, you pick a nickname and the mascot can be a little different. So one of those options, and I guess you could probably go with a couple of others depending on sort of what you think, is that you could pick that nickname and then come up with a different mascot, something that's, a little bit anthropomorphic, or that, because I assume you're going to want something that's going to walk around like the Crusader did, somebody who dresses up in costume and kind of fire up the fans. So that there are some options as we go through the list that will give you an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. And so, I find it interesting again that, some of these, we were going to go through the list and we're just going to go in the order that the university had on their survey. So it's not alphabetical. It's not in preference order. It's just the order that is on that survey. So the first one we'll go through in a second is the Storm. And in that, what would your mascot be? Maybe it's a koala and you call him Storm the koala. Maybe all of these are koalas, right? and again, look, the koala joke has, I'm not going to say it's run its course, because I'm rocking that koala Union Street Hoops shirt for the rest of my life. But for me, that was a fun joke, and I had a chance to see Parker Gatewood in Vegas earlier this week. It was great to see him, and he wishes he could be on with us. He would have been. He had the invite, but he is hosting a ninja competition at his gym, Camp Rhino, in Vegas, and it was great to see him. But I know that he was a bit crushed when he found out koalas didn't make the list. But look, if we talk about koalas too much, people aren't going to take us seriously. They absolutely should take us seriously. So without further ado and without gilding the lily, let's go down the list.
Can I clear something up real quick first?
Sure.
Just so I don't sound like a total dummy, I was referring to Pittsburgh State in Kansas. I know the Pitt Panthers. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
my bad.
oh,
Okay, well,
Pittsburgh State's the Gorillas.
Hey, good job, Stem.
all right.
Sorry. Continue.
Good. Okay, we're gonna go down the list here. I used the website mascotdb.com. It's a mascot database website. You can search the nicknames of all schools. You can search the name of a school, and then you can search the mascot of a school or the nickname of a school, and you can see. So we're going to start with the Valparaiso Storm. The definition is a disturbance of the atmosphere marked by wind and usually by rain, snow, hail, sleet, or thunder and lightning. Feel like we joke about the weather a lot in Valpo. Valpo Rain and Snow is the name in the Scorch, which is the Valpo student newspaper, and they always alter names of things. So Valpo Rain and Snow. There are currently 8 schools in the country named the Storm. All of them are colleges, meaning none of them are universities, from what I can tell. There are no D1 universities named the Storm. The closest to Valparaiso appears to be Lake Erie College, which is somewhere in Ohio. That is the closest one to Valpo. So the Valpo Storm, kind of famously, is also Seattle Storm, WNBA team, led by Jewel Lloyd, the sister of Jared Lloyd, a former Valpo basketball player. And that is where my research of the Storm stopped. This one was one that when I saw this as the first name on the list, I immediately kind of like cringed at what was to follow, because I felt like this was not a good first impression. When you guys saw Storm, obviously it's not plural. What did you guys think?
I think that it really is just kind of there. Like I don't have many thoughts for or against it. It seems like a safe pick. It does seem like they're trying to follow some type of a meteorology theme, because the meteorology program is really strong at Valparaiso University, in which case we should have some type of an Anthony Franz looking mascot.
Well, or Ginger Z or Larry Mowry, or there are many meteorologists.
I am biased towards Anthony Franz because he's my
no, well, Anthony's a longtime friend of the of Union Street Hoops as well. So Andrew, the Storm, can you get behind the Storm?
You know, it's not like, I feel like Jack said, it's just kind of there. Like, I'm not against it. I'm not particularly in favor of it. I wouldn't mind if that's the direction they went. I was just looking at the Seattle's logo, trying to think of what they might do for, coming up with some kind of logo. And they've got the Space Needle and then a little lightning thing coming out from underneath it. So I feel like there are probably some options that you could take from that, and kind of make it however you want it. I'm just kind of indifferent like that. I don't really mind one way or the other. If you're going to go in that direction, I don't remember what was next on the survey. But when we get to Tempest, like if you're going to go that direction, I like Tempest better. I assume I'm going to be in the minority in that because, we're not going to spend people. I don't know how much Shakespeare is read in high school anymore, and or things of that nature. But if you're going to go in that direction, like Tempest is a little bit different, but I'm fine. I'd be fine with Storm. It doesn't move me one way or the other, really.
I always think about, when I think of mascots or nicknames, I should say, because again, I think there's a difference between nickname and mascot, because if Storm was the nickname, there would be a mascot. I don't know what that mascot would be. Although maybe there wouldn't be a mascot, because I think about like the Green Bay Packers for a second. They don't have a mascot. They don't have a quarterback right now either, but they don't have a mascot. I'm wearing a Cleveland Browns hat right now simply because my girlfriend is a diehard Browns fan, and I've kind of adopted them because they are a fun franchise to watch get so close to the 40-yard line and then get pushed back. But they are the Browns, which is probably the boringest name in the NFL, and they have a mascot, and they have like several mascots, and they actually, I kind of have grown to appreciate the way that they handle things. So I'm sure if they were the Valparaiso Storm, there would be some sort of mascot that would come after that. and maybe it would be named Storm. Maybe, I have no idea. But I'm with you guys on this one. It just kind of felt like mashed potatoes from Kentucky Fried Chicken, like just kind of like there, just kind of boring, like bland. So now we move to the Beacons. Beacons is a word that ties into Valparaiso University in a couple different ways. For one, the Beacon is the name of the yearbook that comes out every year. That's also the name of the newest residence hall on campus. It's been around for about 5 years now. It's a guiding or warning light or fire on a high place. This would tie into the three of us who all had experience working at WVUR, the campus radio station. Beacons are a radio station that sends out signals to guide aircraft. And finally, this is a good definition. I kind of like this one. Someone or something that guides or gives hope to others. A beacon. There are currently 2 schools out there that are named the Beacons: Northwest Christian College in Eugene, Oregon, and UMass Boston. Also, both are known as the Beacons. I like UMass Boston Beacons. Boston Beacons sounds fun. Valpo Beacons or Valparaiso Beacons doesn't have that same alliteration. Jack, you start on this one. Your thoughts on Beacons?
Another one that I really just don't have a whole lot to say about. I mean, it just kind of like, I like the definition of what a beacon is. I feel like that fits the university well. But yeah, I think what you mentioned is strong point. Like Valparaiso Beacons, it just, yeah. Again, I don't really think that's a name that's extremely marketable. It could be just from the idea of like, wow, that's a little out there. But I guess there are other schools that are the Beacons.
So STEM, a lot of times when we watch these recruitment videos, you see these guys who put the hat on and they say, I'm going to be a Blue Devil, and they point to their hat or whatever. Can you see a Valpo guy recording a video saying, I'm going to be a beacon?
Sure. I mean, I guess, I just kind of envision like, the logo being a lighthouse or something like that. And I think that would be fine. You mentioned UMass Boston, and I sort of think of Paul Revere and, hanging lanterns and things of that nature. So it could work. I mean, in addition to that, I guess it also sort of ties in. I don't know whether we would have any beacons over by the lakeshore on the Indiana dunes and the lighthouses, that sort of thing. So that might tie in regionally as well. That's that felt like one of the play-ons for the light theme for the university motto and all that stuff. Again, just like you guys said, I'm kind of indifferent. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I would be totally fine if that's the one they selected. I suppose the journalistic part of me kind of appreciates that at least this is one of the few that has a legitimate plural, and you're not going to spend a lot of time arguing about whether it's singular or plural. Like we're talking about, is Storm singular? Is Storm plural? Tempest is on the list. Lightning's on the list. We'll get to all these, but are they singular? Are they plural? And, as journalists, we kind of struggle in these things. Do you say the Tempest has the ball? The Tempest have the ball? And I know that's, we don't want to get too inside baseball or whatever here for discussion, but, it's just kind of interesting to figure out whether something is singular or plural. And at least in Beacons, there is a decided plural form of it going on there. So that, I guess that's one tech mark in his favor.
So I'm going to go total, I don't want to say nerd here because I don't want to offend a portion of the listeners, but I'm going to harken to WWE for a second. And I could get firmly in the Beacons camp if before every game they killed the lights and then we had a Bray Wyatt type like the starting lineup walked out with like just maybe every year it's like the leader of the student section carries a lantern like onto the court and like the team follows, and there's just like was it Sister Abby or whatever music playing in the background with Bray Wyatt coming down to the ring. Have I jumped the shark here in nerddom? Are we?
No, I can totally see that happening, and I'm envisioning the student sections with the flashlights on the cell phones, and they could make it be a whole production. That would be a good way to do it.
I don't like beacons unless you turn off all the lights in the building. You have some Celtic music playing in the background, and the student section. First of all, we need them to start going back to games, and then we need them to stand up, and then we need them to use flashlights on their cell phones to light the court at the beginning. I'm sold.
I think
I'm
you're onto
sold.
something there, P.O. I mean, the Atlanta Braves, whenever they have a pitching change, they shut off all the lights and people kind of put out their phone or their cell phone or whatever, makes them light. Is there something that could be done? Like, would that be, obviously you wouldn't want to do that when some guy's about to shoot free throws, but is there a point in the game that you could have like a light shut off and everyone could do something with their phones, flashlights?
Oh, maybe. Well, and here's the thing is that if Giannis was shooting free throws, you could turn the lights off and turn them back on because he takes 13 seconds before he shot. Okay, I'm going to take lead point on this next one, the Valpo Gold. It's a yellow precious metal, the chemical element of atomic number 79, used especially in jewelry and decoration and to guarantee the value of currencies. It's also referred to in great comedic failure as the once upon a time nickname of Marquette University. There are currently no colleges named the Gold because, as we think, most people that work at colleges are somewhat intelligent and therefore they realize that the word gold should never be a nickname. So for those who don't know, the Marquette was the Warriors for a long time. They changed to the Golden Eagles. They went on a run. They went to the Final Four. With Dwayne Wade, things were good, but then a couple of alums got up at a graduation and said, "We'll donate each $1 million if you change the name back to Warriors." The school said, "We'll take a look at everything," and they announced finally that they were changing their name to the Marquette Gold. That pissed everybody off so much that everybody immediately wanted to go back to the Golden Eagles. It was one of the great PR failures / successes of all time because they took a name, Golden Eagles, that nobody liked. They gave them a different option in gold, and everyone loved Golden Eagles. And now you don't hear anything anymore about people.
That sounds like new Coke.
Yes, absolutely. Gold, the Valpo Gold is the new Coke of this nickname list. It's a terrible idea. If they choose gold, it's terrible, in my opinion. Does anyone want to fight me on that, or does anyone find it even more terrible than I do?
I think you posted the GIF, but I think it would in the thread, but I think it would be worthwhile only for the sake of before the games. We could get the clip from Seinfeld. That's gold, Jerry. Gold.
Yes. That would work.
That would be the one saving grace.
Yeah. What's funny is I'd actually reached out to Todd Eichow, who we still may do this. I'm probably giving it away now, but I had told him that I wanted to type up a script of Brokaw for 3 for the gold, and just have him yell, like do sample play-by-play calls of fitting in the different nicknames. And well, I think it would be very funny. I think it would also get old after about 2 or 3 of them. But he is, if you guys know Todd is can probably cite every episode of Seinfeld, and so he would enjoy that. Jack, you were going to throw all of your support to the gold. Is that what was going to happen?
I wasn't going to throw all of my support towards the gold, but I will say that it's better than brown and gold. It's better than bold. It's better than a lot of the suggestions that I got for my show a week ago, which were a lot of like golden something or another. So I'd like gold more than, like, someone suggested Golden Storm, which just sounds nasty. I don't want to know what a Golden Storm is.
I think that was a Trump thing for a little bit.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Let's move on. Move on.
But gold, no, I think the one thing I will say, and you touched on this earlier, but Andrew's wife, Megan, Andrew shared this with us. She brought up the point that if you have something like gold, like Crimson Tide, as you mentioned, you can make the mascot whatever you want. So I feel like you do have an opportunity with this name. Like, yeah, you're going to have maybe a lame team name, but then you're making really the team name Valpo after all. But you have an opportunity to do a koala mascot or do something really out there. And that's what I think is much more valuable than some of these other just generic mascots.
I do think that on its face, I don't like gold, but partnered with Rowdy the Koala, we have a possibility here of making some good moves. Halfway point of or we're getting to the halfway point. The Valpo Sparks, the Valparaiso Sparks. Sparks has got interesting connotations. Spark notes, it's a way that people cheat on exams. Spark is like an energy drink. Sparks is also an alcoholic seltzer of some sort that's a precursor to White Claw. The definition is a small fiery particle thrown off from a fire, a light in ashes, or produced by striking together two hard surfaces, such as stone or metal. A simpler way of saying that is ignite. There are currently no colleges named the Sparks. We do have the LA Sparks from the WNBA and the South Park Sparks High School from Buffalo, New York. Sparks feels unique. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out Chris Sparks, former Valpo men's basketball player and then assistant coach, who is now the radio analyst voice at Loyola. So he is, kind of left his Valpo roots and but he's doing a great job kind of calling games for Loyola. So I think about Chris Sparks every time I see Sparks in relation to this. Andrew, your thoughts on Sparks?
Again, it kind of, I hate to keep beating the same drum. It's going to sound kind of repetitive. I'm just kind of indifferent. I'm looking at the LA Sparks logos that they've got, and it looks like they've got a sparkler going on, and it also kind of builds off of, they're combined with their offshoot, I guess, of the Los Angeles Lakers, or the sister club. And, it looks pretty similar to that. I don't know whether I'm just kind of trying to think graphic design wise, and that great artist you had put all those concepts together for the story you wrote a few months ago.
Kat Velez, our graphic designer at the Northwest Indiana Times, did such a great job on those five mascots.
Yeah, she did great. And I'm just trying to think, conceptually kind of what you might make that look like. I mean, again, I sort of feel like the Storm, it kind of leaves you a lot of options to make it as localized as you want it, or you can go with very generic. I don't know which direction people would like to go. Again, I'm just kind of like, I think sparklers, I think that's kind of one of those things, like as we're getting here close to the 4th of July, builds off the light theme again, but a little bit different than beacons. It's fine.
Jack, you were more recently a student at Valpo than Andrew and I were. Put yourself in the student section. Are you going over to Phantom Fireworks and buying a bunch of sparklers before the game and lighting off sparklers as the starting lineups are being announced?
Well, fun fact, I have actually never been in the student section because I was always on press row.
Yeah, you were working. That makes sense. I actually spent maybe like 3 games in my college career in the student section. Andrew, I imagine you're probably at that or less because we worked all of these games.
I'm thinking of chants, though. Spark 'em up would be great. Can't you just envision a whole student section chanting "Spark 'em up" or "Spark it up" or something like that before a big play, something along those lines?
Play some Jordan Sparks.
Oh yeah, how am I going to breathe with no air? That's good. Yeah. Tattoo. That's another good one. That's the extent of my Jordan Sparks knowledge.
That's more than I have. So,
but I will say, P.O. Miller Conrad was a guy that when I was at Valpo, he was like Mr. Student Section. Miller Conrad would absolutely be going to get some sparklers. I don't know if they would be allowing people to bring those in, but Miller would find a way to bring them in.
Look, if you can throw an octopus on a hockey rink or a flamingo on a hockey rink, you can. I don't think they're live flamingos in Vegas. I think those are stuffed flamingos, but still, I think we can get some sparklers in the student section. All right, the Lightning. Speaking of hockey, the Tampa Bay Lightning. We've lived, Stem, you and I have lived in Valpo for a long time. I don't live there now. Yes, there are some storms every now and again, but I don't feel like lightning is something that happens nearly as much as you probably see it out here in storm country in Nebraska and into Kansas and whatnot.
Yeah, no, it's there. I mean, there's always like good for 1 or 2 storms a year, right? They're 1 or 2 really good storms during the summer in Valpo. But yeah, it's not necessarily something that I would think of, necessarily associating with, like you talked about the NHL and Tampa Bay. Like Florida always gets their 3 p.m. thunderstorm seemingly every day, and that's kind of how you set your clock and things of that nature. And Not necessarily something that's directly associated with the region. We've talked about the meteorology program and or playing off of the light theme or whatever. It's just another one. This is probably trending lower on the list of how I would sort of rank them. But again, it with the university colors being, the gold makes it easy, to come up with something like that. Again, I don't know whether the people who are thinking all these things are looking for the easy way out. It certainly seems like they've taken all the proper steps to avoid doing that with the surveys they've sent out and everything along the way. So it's not necessarily something I would directly associate with Northwest Indiana, but I wouldn't hate it either. It would be fine.
Jack, this is with apologies to the Seattle Storm and the Los Angeles Sparks, the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is the only one on the list that is in one of the four major professional, I guess, men's sports. And again, the Storm and Sparks we've talked about already. Lightning is out there. They just won the Stanley Cup. It doesn't feel like Valpo could own that name. Am I right?
You're right. Absolutely. I think the reason why Lightning is being considered is meteorology, and I think the color scheme does work with it. I do think that bright yellow goldish color fits Lightning. Now, is it the best marketable and best name brand? Probably not.
I just thought about this, thinking if Valpo adopted the gold, because the men's basketball team, like their coaches, with the exception of Luke Gore, because Luke has this gold jumpsuit that he wears that is just, when he walks into the gym to recruit, it is just bright gold, yellow. It's amazing. But like Loddick, most of the stuff he wears is black and gray with the Valpo logo on it. I actually have one of these polos somewhere that's just the Valpo Nike polo that's black and gray. And I wonder if they change the name to the gold. I just don't think you could do that anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Lightning, the occurrence of a natural electrical discharge of a very short duration and high voltage between a cloud and the ground or within a cloud, accompanied by a bright flash and typically thunder. There are currently two colleges named the Lightning: Goldie Beacom in Wilmington, Delaware, and Lehman College in the Bronx. So in terms of Division I universities, Valpo would own that nickname, but I think in terms of the national perception, it's a hockey team name at this point. Now we move on to three of the more, I think, divisive names on the list, I suppose. Jack, you said you were fired up about one of them. Stem, you said that there was one that you felt strongly about, and I don't feel like I've tapped into the veins of either one of those statements yet. So I imagine
think it's going to be the same one, and I think we're going to be on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So is Tempest the one that you guys are talking about? Okay. Tempest is a violent storm. What does tempest mean in the Bible? It means a violent commotion, disturbance, or tumult. Tumult is a good name. I like tumult. That reminds me of Tormund from Game of Thrones. And now I'm starting to think of, if you gave me Tormund as the mascot for any of these names, I would immediately sign off.
Hey, P.O., speaking of biblical names, we call our gym the Ark. So why not the Floods or the Flood, Valparaiso Flood?
As they're announcing the lineups, flood the Ark. And then just, yeah, I think that would be great.
We have a Noah-looking mascot.
Yes, only, and he was a guy who liked his. If the rumors are true that alcohol might be served at games at some point, Noah liked himself some wine.
Oh, he did. He sure did.
And he went sleeveless a lot of times, which is what you wear on the back. He went a lot of things less. All right, two times that Tempest has been used in sports: the Tallahassee Tempest of the United Soccer League Division II and the Tampa Tempest of the Women's Professional Football League. Both of these are now defunct. Tempest is out there for the taking. No one has used it since Shakespeare. Come and get it, Tempest. What do you guys think? Are you sold? Carl Berner is on #Team Tempest.
I mean, it's an angry storm, right? I feel like
it's a violent storm.
So you could like, I don't know, you get a cloud who looks really menacing, and like he's got lightning and all these things. I don't know. I mean, like the first thing I thought of was Shakespeare, which I don't know, probably says more about me than I think.
Valpo's a
else.
liberal arts university. Shakespeare.
So,
I studied Shakespeare at Valpo.
I mean, but I guess that was my question is, I don't know. I haven't touched a high school curriculum in a while. I don't know whether, Shakespeare is read as often, or even if people, the incoming student body would know that The Tempest was a play written by Shakespeare. It's not something, I guess, that gets referred to very often. Like, at least with things like lightning and sparks and stuff like that. Like, these are stuff that generally, I think, float about in conversation. Maybe not beacons quite so much, but depending on the context. I like it because it's different. And
It's
I don't know.
Different with a capital D. It's
Yes.
the most different name.
Probably in all caps if we're seriously considering it. But like, I do like that it's different. Like, that's an opportunity, whether whether it reaches the national branding that Jack had referred to earlier with Wichita State. I don't know whether it does that, but I feel like every time it pops up and an announcer hears that, like, that's one that you're going to remember.
Oh yeah, totally.
So if you're looking for that to make inroads in that direction, it does that. Like, it says, hey, this mascot is different, or this nickname is different, pay attention to us. It's something that sticks with you. And if that's something that you're going for, which could very well be what they're doing, like, that's something that at least it resonates and you'll remember it later, right? Like, when I was talking to Jack in his episode, like, we remember UC Santa Cruz is the Banana Slugs. I couldn't tell you anything else about the University of California at Santa Cruz, but their mascot is the Banana Slugs. And that's one of those things that sticks with you. And so this would be one of those. And I don't think Lightning does that. I don't think Sparks really does that. I don't think Storm does that, because of those things where you have other associations with, the either the WNBA franchises, the NHL franchise, whatever. But because, the two you mentioned are defunct and nobody has it, it's unique, it sticks out, and it resonates with people. Now, whether or not it's a good mascot, that's an entirely separate discussion to have, but at least it lays the foundation for people to remember it and take notice of it.
I don't know that you're selling me on this, but I will tell you, a lot of times, like, when I go see a movie, when I react to it in the moment, I think a certain thing, and then I really try to spend a day or two and let it marinate in my brain a little bit. And then I think to myself, what did I really think of that movie? And that's why I try to not do an immediate podcast with this list. And out of the 8, Tempest is the one that has shifted the most in my thought process from the beginning till now. In terms of when I first saw it, I put a GIF out for each one of these things. And the one for that was just the Steve Harvey, like, WTF, what is going on here?
404 file not found.
Yeah, exactly. So as I go forward, it is one that, as a nickname, it could be interesting. Now, I want to know what the mascot would be for this. But again, it goes back to the idea of Jack, like, no one grows up wanting to be a Tempest.
Right.
Like that's the really kind of odd way. What are your thoughts on Tempest?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page with you, P.O. I think that out of all these names, it is probably the most unique. It's something that people will remember. And I like you, I got to see what the mascot is, because I think you have an opportunity here to do something really cool and make a mascot that people are going to remember. Like, again, I think the mascot is important alongside the team name. When Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, made his first debut, he was a phenomenon for a month. And King Cake Baby with the New Orleans Pelicans was another one that people, I mean, if you have that, even if it's goofy, even if it's weird, it could be cool. That's something I think is really good. So I want to see what the mascot is. But out of all these names so far, like, this is one that I feel like I could potentially talk myself into, which I don't know if I'll see that as much with the other names on this list.
All right, there are 2 names left. I'm gonna change the order. We're gonna look at Lightning Hawks for a second, because we're gonna push this other name to the end, because I have a feeling that the other one might be the interesting conversation.
It is, yes.
Lightning Hawks is this is the most tone deaf, name on the list, and this is the inclusion of this on the list makes me think that there was not a lot of research done in putting together this list. And again, all deference to the committee members and things like that. If you Google Lightning Hawks, the first 4 Google images are guns. The definition of Lightning Hawk is an incredibly powerful handgun that fires piercing rounds to deal incredible and precise damage with a slow rate of fire. It is in a video game named Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And their Wikipedia page, it says that Lightning Hawks, they are the scourge of chaos and the bane of the unholy. But again, if you Google Lightning Hawks, the first 4 images are of guns. This should immediately disqualify this from conversation, right? Like, and I'm not infringing on your Second Amendment rights. Get off that high horse right now. I'm just saying, if Crusaders was violent, what are we doing here with Lightning Hawks? What are we like? Yes, it's a fun play on compound words. We've got lightning, we've got hawks, we've got another name with lightning, we've got another name with hawks we'll get to. This just felt like, did you not run any of these through the search engine before you put them on the list? Were you guys aware of the gun connotation? If not, what was your reaction to this name?
Well, interestingly enough, as you were saying that, I was wondering if it was something that they were aware of, because I've never heard the term Lightning Hawk before. I mean, I don't really know how you come up with that. Really, it's an odd, if you just think about, let's say there is no gun, and let's just say this is the name. Lightning Hawk is a pretty horrible name. Like, it just, I have a very strong anti-bird mascot / team name stance. And I could go into that a little bit here. The thing is that I was running a bracket for my listeners, my readers to vote on during the NCAA tournament, to vote for what is the coolest mascot in the NCAA tournament. And one of the things I saw was there were like 40 to 45% of the mascots in this last tournament were some kind of bird, a hawk, an eagle, or whatever. And eventually what I noticed was all those mascots were losing because they were redundant. Now, obviously, you know, Kansas Jayhawk or Oregon Duck, like some of those are iconic, but I feel like having some kind of hawk or eagle or cardinal or whatever, it's redundant. It's really it goes against what I would like the team to do. And that's to come up with something that's very different and unique. My other school that I attended, Carthage College, they are no longer the Redmen. They became the Firebirds. Fighting Illini at Illinois, their mascot is now a bird. It seems like it's a common trend to move in that direction of a bird. And unless it's something that's super unique, unless it's a flamingo, an ostrich, an emu, a pterodactyl, a penguin, like I would steer clear of birds just because they all blend together. It's nothing memorable.
Andrew, do you have any thoughts on Lightning Hawks, or should we jump right into the one that we want to talk about the most?
I mean, I didn't know about the gun connotation. I just simply felt that it was somebody who's like, oh, well, we have 2 of these things that are sort of on this list. Let's put them together and see what happens.
That's what I thought.
That was my first thought, and I was like, no.
To be fair,
not be my preference.
To be fair, my original viewing of this, I didn't know about the gun thing either. I read about it on either the Valpo message board or my Facebook page. I put a question up on, but my mom and I were flying home from Vegas, and we got checked in. We sat down, we're waiting in the terminal, and I posted something. I went to the bathroom, I came back, I looked at it, and I said, "Oh, Mom, I got 40 comments on my post." She's like, "You just made that post like 5 minutes ago." I said, "Yeah." I said, I said, "There's not a lot of people awake right now, or else there'd be more posts." But I didn't know it immediately, and then I saw it in other places. Okay, we got through the first 7. Now numero 8, the last one to talk about, and really the one that I feel like either you love it or you hate it.
And I hate it.
The Valpo Dunehawks. Jack, I can see the look on your face. It's like you just got a Smirnoff Ice put in your hand, and you look so upset right now. Andrew, on the other hand, I feel like you might be doing a victory lap. Let's see, who do we go with first? Jack, if we could keep your veins from popping out of your neck, give me a paragraph on why the Dunehawks is not your choice.
So as I mentioned, I am not in favor of a bird. I just don't think it's super marketable. I don't think it's memorable. I know some folks, I had conversations with people. I say, well, you put Dune in front of it and it becomes memorable. Let me ask you before I continue my rant. Do either of you know the mascot for University of Tennessee Martin?
The Skyhawks.
Okay. Good job. Good job.
Assistant coach Eric Buggs, former Valpo basketball player, just got hired by Tennessee Martin about 3 weeks ago. Very excited for Eric.
That's great. Yeah.
This is not the group to ask, do you know the name of the mascot for?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Andrew has made a cottage industry out of knowing the mascot name for every school.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I think most people don't know that. And whereas, like, again, you look at something like Shocker, you remember that. And so now, granted, Wichita State's built themselves a program. I don't think that adding Dune to the name is really going to make it super memorable. I think it's just going to be white noise with any other hawk or eagle or bird team name. But I think people like it because it's incorporating something in the area with the sand dunes, which is cool. But if you Google Dunehawk, as I'm sure you did, the Dunehawk is a car. It's a Nissan 2003 Dunehawk. So and Dunehawk isn't a real animal. So you're making your mascot some kind of Nissan car. I'll leave it here. And then if you want to circle back to me in a little bit, I have an idea of how we could potentially improve this name.
So to your point, I Googled the definition of Dunehawks, and there is not a definition out there. It's never been used in sports before. And as a matter of fact, if you Google Dunehawks right now, 3 of the first 4 Google return results are related to the Valparaiso mascot search.
Wow.
So you want to talk about owning the world that you live in. Valpo's already owning Dunehawks. Andrew, your thoughts on the good old Valpo Dunehawks?
I mean, I would not go so far as to say that this was necessarily my favorite, that I'm taking a victory lap. I just really like, if you're thinking about, if you want to make it something that's regional, like if they just gone with the Hawks, or if they just gone with the Skyhawks, like, I don't know if Lake Hawks is a thing, like maybe they could have done that. But like, if you want to tap into the region, and as Jack mentioned, the dunes, the Indiana National Lakeshore that's there, I mean, I think this is the best opportunity to kind of reel in that local flavor. Now, whether that's something you want to do or whether it's not something you want to do, again, that's, something for the committee to decide or whatever. But I did appreciate that this was the localized kind of idea. And in addition, as you talked about, you can sort of, since there's no, since we're not being beholden to some sort of, this is what a Dunehawk really is. Since I don't think they're going to go with the 2003 Nissan as the mascot. They might be able to track those down somewhere. And shout out to Tommy Mantis, by the way, for we know how much he loves the Dunehawk. But like, you can kind of make it conceptually. Kat, is that right? Am I getting that right? Your graphic designer.
Kat.
She could make that look, and the graphic designers of the university could make it look however you want it, right? There's nothing to build off of. I mean, obviously you're gonna want to frame it off of a hawk of some sort, but there's no like, oh, hey, it's not supposed to look like that. So in that way, I think it leaves open a lot of possibilities, just because you can make it kind of look how you want it to look, and you will own that nickname, as you said. So, if you want the local flavor, I think, in spite of our love for the meteorology department, I think that, it might capture the local flavor a little bit better than things like the storm or the lightning or what have you. So in that regard, I don't mind it. If I had to guess, now I do not have my finger on the pulse of the committee as you two gentlemen might, but this seems to be one that I think a lot of people would find they'd be okay with. I feel like there will probably be a lot of, strong opinions one way or the other. And some people will have them as, Jack has his clearly, but I think that this is kind of one of those that it feels like you might be able to get most people to meet in the middle on this one. So for that reason, I could see them going with that one.
I like
Jack,
the first.
We'll circle back to you in a second, Jack. I will tell you that this is my pick out of the 8 by far. I mean, and I don't think it's close. But I will also tell you, I'm probably more with Stem on this one. It's not close because I love this one so much. It's because I dislike the other 7 for a variety of reasons. I just, I don't want Valpo to pick and then this is hard, right? Like this part, like I don't want Valpo to pick the Storm or the Sparks because those are or the Lightning, because those are professional sports teams' names. And I want Valpo to pick a name that they're going to be able to own. Now, I say that they didn't own Crusaders either. I mean, there's a lot of other teams have this. I mean, there's like 36 colleges that have had this or whatever. Gold and Tempest are just not for me. And then Lightning Hawks, I think, is just got to be thrown out with bathwater immediately. Dunehawks is and Beacons is, okay, fine. I don't know. That's I guess I lived in Beacon Hall. Or there was a Beacon at Concordia, and there was a connection there, and then here it's a dorm room name to me. It's not a mascot nickname. So Dunehawks is the one that to me and it's got nothing to do with my ego and the fact that when I suggested the 5 nicknames to the university a couple months ago that Dunehawks was on that list. I have no ego and I don't want them to pick one so I can do my own victory lap whatsoever. Jack,
please promise us that you will. If they do.
Yes,
okay,
I will soar like a Dunehawk. Jack, you have a modified name that you think could work here. What is that?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, I like Dune. I like the first half. It's mainly the bird thing that I just don't think it stands out, and I don't really like the car connotation.
By the way, no one has ever said I like Dune in reference to the movie Dune. So go ahead.
Okay, what about Dune bugs? That's a real animal. You could play Beatles songs. The mascot could drive around in a dune buggy. Huh? It's a Paul. You're. I don't know what that expression is.
That's a no for me, dog. I don't like insects, to be honest with you. But look, just as much as we're trying to placate the meteorology department, maybe we could placate the insect department. I will say this, my boss, she has a dune bug, or a dune bug, or whatever
dune buggy.
A Volkswagen bug. Andrew, are you here for the dune bugs?
I could probably be talked into it. I mean, I rate it above Lightning Hawks. If that's so that's where we are in this particular juncture. I mean,
I like that it could be, again, you could make your mascot any kind of insect that you want. There's a little more creative freedom, and that's something that I like, having something that's unique. And I sound like a broken record. I
love the other beat reporters in the Missouri Valley Conference, but they would be so tempted to say Illinois State squashes the bugs every time they beat Valpo. And I just, I'm not here for that. Or like Valpo beats Indiana State at the buzzer and Todd Golden with the headline of bug bites or something like that. Or I just, I don't know. So, well, it's obviously an interesting list, and I don't know if it's a list that we wanted, but maybe it's the list we deserve for this whole process. I don't. So Jack, you choose one that you're giving a rose to, and which one are you sending home? Which one are you voting on?
Bachelor here. Oh yeah, Survivor references. I love the reality TV. Okay, so I think, you know what? it's kind of a cop out, but I would actually go gold on this list just because I think the rest of them are so bad. I think gold is something that, again, you're basically punting on a team name at that point. You're basically saying like, we are Valpo. That's what we are. So I kind of like that identity with the university rather than just a bad name attached to Valparaiso. I guess you could say gold is a bad name, but I just don't even think of it as a name. I just think of it kind of being there. And then you have the creative freedom to do whatever you want with a mascot and create any kind of mascot that you think is inoffensive, fun, marketable. So that's probably the one out of all of these that I would go with, but it's partly just by default because I don't really like any other names on the list.
And then you're voting Dunehawks off the island. That would be
100% Dunehawks out of here. But I mean, I don't know if I'd feel as strong about Dunehawks if it wasn't so popular, because it seems like it is very polarizing. You either love it or you hate it. And I think people like me probably think that this is a realistic possibility of what it should be. And we don't like it. So we probably feel stronger about it towards that one. But if Sparks was like leading the charge, then maybe I'd be more anti-Sparks. But I'm also anti-birds, I guess. So
basically you're a contrarian is what you're saying.
yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Andrew, you get to give a rose to one nickname and you got to vote one of them off the island. What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to cop out and give out 2 roses only because, I guess there are really no rules. I would give one to Tempest just because like it is so different.
Yeah.
It is unique. Also, you mentioned Carl Berner. If Carl Berner is on Team Tempest, he's one of the smartest guys we know. Shout him out if he wants to get behind it. I like it. I like the idea of owning something that's different than anything else that anybody has. I guess in that same regard, as much as it's going to upset Jack and Tommy, I would probably also go with Dunehawks. I like the local flavor, kind of the idea of that if you want to make it. So that would be my 2 is if you want to go just own something entirely, that would be Tempest. If you want to go something that you can still own but would kind of be more regional and you can associate with the area, that would be Dunehawks, and get rid of Lightning Hawks. I compound words. I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Do you guys like the idea of having a bird mascot that just kind of blends in with the rest of all the other mascots? Is that something that you guys care about?
The whole idea of the bird mascot is something that I know is out there, but I don't really think about all that often because they are there's so many of them in terms of like, I just think about even in the conference. I mean, what do we have in the Missouri Valley Conference? You've got the Redbirds, you've got, let's see, you got Sycamores, you got Salukis, they're crazy looking dogs. Ramblers, I don't really know what those are. Those are dogs too of some sort, right?
It's wolf, right? Isn't it?
Wolf,
yeah,
wolf,
it's a wolf.
yeah,
LU wolf or something like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. What else?
Drake's,
I don't even know.
Drake's the Bulldogs.
We've got Bradley Braves.
They'll be, yeah.
Southwest Missouri State's the Bears, right? Are they still the
Oh,
Bears?
Missouri State, yeah, the Bears, yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
Missouri State. Sorry, I forgot they dropped the Southwest. I'm old.
yeah, no, fair.
Panthers.
And Northern Iowa's the Panthers.
Are there a lot of Panthers in Northern Iowa? I
Never
don't
know.
I mean, I just drove through Northern Iowa yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't see any Panthers just walking around. So at least you see birds. You at least see hawks flying around Northwest Indiana. I mean, Jack, I get where you're coming from with like, there are so many. You look at the NFL, Eagles, Falcons, Seahawks, Cardinals. I mean, there's birds everywhere. Ravens. I'm sure I'm not even, just a ton of them out there. I'm sure the football team will adopt a bird mascot at some point. So, yeah, but I like, if I'm giving a rose out, I'm giving it to Dunehawks simply because of the connection to the region. I like the historical nature of it. I like the fact that name was derived from some sports writers of the Vidette Messenger back in the 1930s when they were sick of the university not having a name. I tried the same thing with the Koalas. I don't have as good enough of a marketing company as those guys did back then. Yeah, I would, out of this list, I would go with Dunehawks. And then just because I got a little PTSD of watching Marquette go through what they did, I would vote the gold off.
Opposite of me.
But to your point, Jack, I do think if you adopt the gold, then you are kind of admitting we're just going to be Valpo, and gold is just going to be such a supplemental thing, right? Like, I can see a marketing campaign. It would be nauseating as hell, but I could see a marketing campaign of saying, set the gold standard for the rest of your life. Come to Valpo, stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, it is, because that it's, and somebody said to me, as someone commented on one of the posts, that this felt like a list that was derived out of marketing focus groups. And they are, because that's how this stuff is done now. And so I like the fact that when I Google Dunehawks, that like nothing comes up. And so I think, and Tempest is another one. To Andrew's point, these are two that you can own. That if you're looking for a name that you can turn into your own identity, Tempest and Dunehawks are the ones. I think Tempest is just kind of so out there to me.
Right.
But
Tempest, I will say Tempest isn't bad. Tempest is something that we could work with.
Tempest is like Brussels sprouts in that I didn't like it at all at the beginning. And then I actually you cook it the right way and they can be phenomenal. So Andrew, Jack, thank you guys very much for joining here. I think we probably have more questions than we have answers. Right. And I wish I could tell the Valpo fans out there what's going to happen. But obviously, after seeing this list of 8, everything I thought I knew, I don't know anything.
Do you have any semblance of a timeline? Has that been dropped to you at all? I mean, I assume they'd want to, roll it out. I don't know if they want to wait until the new fiscal year starts July 1 or kind of, but I assume they'd want to be a big rollout before, August move in and all that stuff.
Yeah. So first of all, no, I have no knowledge of the timeline whatsoever. So anything that I say going forward is going to be me, how I would do it or how I would be guessing. But this survey is due on Tuesday, the 12th, right? That's the day that they want all of this information in. If they actually look at the survey results, because and I say that because there's a lot of joking that no one looked at the survey results from the last time because they didn't release any of the survey results really. If they go through that, I mean, I'd imagine that they'll move quickly on this. I would think, I mean, just the way the college calendars work, July 1st might be a good day to do something. But then, I mean, I wonder now, of these 8, have they mocked up logos of these? Do they have, I mean, then obviously I think what you want is freshman move-in day. You want to give these people all t-shirts, the freshman orientation at Valpo starts on Monday. So they're not there yet. And so what I think you would love if you're the university is to have boxes of t-shirts ready to go to give every student who's moving in on move-in weekend a t-shirt, and just
have the mascot there to high five the kids.
Well, yeah, and the mascot moving in and everything like that. So again, I don't know the timeline. That's what I would do, but I don't know if that's realistic, right? June 15th, you get the survey. You're going to take a week to crunch those numbers. You have a committee meeting the week after that. You narrow it down to, I don't know. I mean, is this the final list that we're going to narrow it down to? Maybe we narrow it down to 4 from here, and then we do a vote. I don't know if they have time for that. So,
I mean, yeah, to your point, you'd figure they're probably mocking up, right? Because they've got to have uniforms ready to go. And I mean, I don't know for a ton of them whether it would change. I mean, I'd assume football would mostly keep the same. Then it would just be, changing the name, and then you'd put in the new logo on the helmet. But I wonder, whether some of those, the team's uniforms would change, and whether they've conceptualized those, and whether you'd want to make the mascot more prominent on some if you could, or.
And that, I guess, that's the big question. Valpo's going to choose a new nickname. Is the new nickname going to be a huge part of the marketing of the university, or is it going to be like, we need a nickname, so we're going to pick gold?
Right.
And, or like, are they going to release videos? Are all these commercial reads that are on the radio stations? And by the way, this is for anyone at Valpo. If you would like to buy advertising on my podcast, I'm here. just make a phone call. But all of these ads they're reading on the score and everything like that, like, do they have to read? Are they going to redo? Are they going to be very aggressive in getting this mascot nickname out there, or is, still the shield of character still going to be the overarching kind of thing that they're going to fall back on? I mean, they just returfed the baseball field and they put the shield on it, and so I'd imagine that shield ain't going to go anywhere. So how do you incorporate that into all of this stuff as well? So all that being said, Andrew and I are here for the Dunehawks, and I'm lightly on the Tempest. Andrew likes Tempest, and Jack, you are the opposite, showing once again that the generation gap is real. All right, guys. Go ahead.
Oh no, nothing. It wasn't important.
We just summed up the whole podcast right there. All right, hey guys, thank you very much. Everyone out there, hey, thanks for listening. Looking forward to getting back to Valpo here. I've been on the road for a while. A lot of the newcomers are back. I'm going to pop into the Arc, the aforementioned flooded Arc. I'm going to pop in there next week and hopefully check out some of these new guys and hopefully get a few more of them to join the podcast as well. So Andrew and Jack, thank you guys very much. And whenever they choose a name, we'll be back to debrief on it a little bit.
That'd be
Thanks
great.
a lot,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Always good catching up with you guys.
Thank you so much for having me. And guys, check out my website, jackvita.com, for more content.
Absolutely. All right. Take care, everybody.